What is up, guys, and welcome to our 100th episode of Guarani Vision, the first ever podcast dedicated to Paraguayan football in English. As always, I'm Roberto Rojas, and joining me is the all-time greatest co-host you can have on Paraguayan football. All four of us are here. Fede Perez, Maria Britos, and Ralph Gana. Guys, I mean, there's a lot to talk about from the football perspective that we'll get to in a minute. But first of all, we want to just say happy 100th episode to all of us. It's incredible to do all of this in just a short span of time, 100 episodes and some more. Of course, we've done some extra episodes. So maybe it's not officially 100 videos, but it is 100 episodes of a regular show of Guarani Vision. So I'm very happy to have all of us here to talk about, really what we've always been passionate about. And what a perfect time to do it. Of course, here we are speaking the day after Olimpia's triumphant win over Flamengo in the Copa Libertadores to see them qualify to the quarterfinals. We're going to discuss about that game itself, what it means now, and if people can really start to believe, because from what I'm hearing after these games, especially beating the reigning champions, there are some rumblings of La Cuarta. There are some rumors of saying, hey, it could possibly happen, coincidences or whatever. They're starting to believe over there in Paraguay. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the big Superclásico that's actually happening this weekend as well, even on a high that Olimpia can have, can that continue against a Cerro Porteño side who are really starting to try to ease off the pressure and try to get probably the win that they need to kind of continue themselves in the race. Premier League is back this weekend, so we'll see Julio Enciso and Miguel Miron in action for both their clubs. In a couple of weeks as well, they'll be starting their respective European competitions as well, the Champions League and the Europa League. So it's crazy to believe that we're already nearly midway to August, and yet all the football starting to come up, even the ones that we've been focusing on here in South America. It's just continue on and on. But let's go to someone that obviously I think was the brainchild to all this, the one that kind of created it. If it wasn't for Fede Perez, there would be no Guarani Vision. So, happy 100th. And I guess, just I'll I'll let you take the floor on this one, because obviously it's incredible to do 100 episodes on something that we both enjoy, and I've had fun interviewing people, learning about the game, kind of suffering, enjoying it, speaking to people all around Paraguay, all around the world, basically about this beautiful game, and it's been fun doing it on this amazing journey.
Hi, Roberto. Hi, Maria. Hi, Rob. Hi, everyone listening to Guarani Vision. 100 episodes. I cannot believe we made it this far. Congratulations, guys. Thank you, guys, for being here one more time, especially to Roberto, to Rob, to Maria. Thank you for giving your time to this project. It started just so long ago now. Just looking back at everything that's happened this time. We started out in the middle of COVID, in the middle of the lockdown. Everybody was at their house, and I had this crazy idea. I really like that term that you used, Roberto. Brainchild, was it? Because it makes me feel young, and I actually had this idea, or my first podcast, when I'm like over 30. So I'm actually really happy to be doing this with you guys every week. Talk about something that we love. Talk about something that we know. This is my day in, day out. I do football here in Paraguay. I follow the game pretty much every day of my life. So I know what I'm talking about. I know everything that happens here, and I wanted to share that in English. So this is what we do pretty much every week. And I'm just so happy that there are people that are listening. There are people that are following us pretty much every week. That just makes me even happier. So proud. And that just gives us another reason to keep going, Roberto. So 100 episodes, and why not 100 more, right? It's just another reason to celebrate. I got a lot of friends here in Paraguay that just love to have reasons to celebrate, to get together, stuff like that. So if I just say, we just made it to 100, I know they're going to make a party, Roberto.
Nice. And yeah, congrats everybody that we got here. This is pretty cool to think that we've been doing this for so long. I'm very thankful that we get to do this, because it keeps me connected with Paraguayan football being over here in the US, and that was something that maybe you could lose over time, because it was a bit different for me than the other guys that they've been growing up here. But since I moved from Paraguay, maybe I wasn't watching the games in the stadium like I used to, but now I've kind of got this reason to keep myself connected with the game that I enjoy so much. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, what I'm really looking forward to is that maybe if we do this long enough, Paraguay will qualify for a World Cup, because I was thinking we're less than a month away from the qualifiers now. And that's been some of my favorite episodes, actually, when we all get the Albiroja on and we all get excited. only to be disappointed later. But this year, I think we've got something special happening with Enciso and Almiron. So let's hope by the 200th episode, we'll be talking about the World Cup in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and Maria, obviously for you as well. Obviously, I think it's very much special, and like Ralph said, it allows you to go back into the swing of things of what we enjoy, like kind of football, soccer, whatever it may be. It's it's the way to bond Paraguayans. Like, yeah, there's so much going on in the country, politically, economically. There's so much issues that Paraguay can have for the wrong things, but usually it's kind of football in the good way. I mean, there are some bad things happening in football these days anyway, but like from the positive end, it allows Paraguay to be talked about. And that's it. That's what kind of our responsibility is, we're happy for the likes of Enciso Almiron performing well. We're happy that Olimpia can do well in a competition, or something else goes on that is featuring a Paraguayan or a Paraguayan team. So I feel like for us, it's a good opportunity for us to speak about it and to showcase why Paraguayans really love this sport. And so hopefully, and I'm sure you agree on this, it allows us to really just continue to go on. And like Fede said, yeah, here's the next 100. And hopefully we can celebrate it here in the States, with Paraguay qualifying to the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that Ralph said it, perfectly. It keeps you connected to, not just the football in Paraguay, but also everything else that comes around, our lovely country. And, like when I first started this project with you guys, I was excited because I came here to the United States when I was a little girl, and ever since then, I think I always kept something in me from Paraguay, and doing this podcast definitely helps me to continue to be close to Paraguay, not just through my family or some friends that I have, through the world of football that we all love so much. And not only do we bring all the news and all the latest in this world, but also I keep learning about the world of soccer in Paraguay myself. So it's definitely something that I appreciate you guys doing, because it's one of a kind, and we still don't have anything else like it. So I'm very, very proud to be part of this team, and continue to bring anything that has to do with Paraguay to anyone that wants to learn it. And we hope that whoever's listening does learn something about our country and our soccer. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with it, but the players that have gone out into the world have maybe a little bit of our help. I would like to think that way, because we had like the likes of Almiron and now Enciso and so many others that have gained so much traction and so much attention from the world. And I feel like we have been able to do that as well with this podcast. So just hopefully we continue to do that. And yeah, I hope that in the next few years that we can talk about Paraguay coming here to the US and we get to go see them. Maybe Fede comes over finally from Paraguay and gets to watch Paraguay in the World Cup once again. And just so many other milestones that we can hopefully continue to look at and talk about. And but thank you guys, and thank you to everyone that's listening, and tell everyone else that to continue to listen to us and just spread the word about what we're doing. So
Yeah, no, that's a good one. No competition as well. So we can honestly say that we are the first and only ever podcast dedicated to Paraguay football in English, as I always say in the intro. So no competition. And yeah, here's to the next 100. Hopefully we can celebrate. But hey, we still have a Copa America happening in about less than 10 months, actually. So that's the first thing to see. Paraguay will be playing in that. That's a certainty. So hopefully we can do a lot more coverage there as the tournament gets underway over there in the United States. But let's go straight into what really has been talked about. And actually, let's go first to kind of the disappointments. I want to save the worst news, actually, because unfortunately, with the qualification of Olimpia to the next stage, it means they are the only ones. And I want to go to Fede on this one because we have two teams that could have at least gave us some joy in the other competition, which is the Sudamericana, the second tier competition of South America. We had Guarani taking on Botafogo and Libertad taking on Fortaleza, both teams playing against each other, hoping to qualify, both of them coming from 1-goal deficits. Botafogo was beating Guarani in the first leg 2-1, whereas Libertad lost to Fortaleza in the first leg as well. And unfortunately for both the teams, they both got eliminated thanks to draws. Libertad could have at least salvaged, possibly going to penalties, but it was a goal from Marinho literally in the 91st minute for Fortaleza to put them through and qualify to the quarterfinals. Whereas for Guarani, they had so many chances to qualify, to really take advantage, and they just couldn't do it. And they ended up with a 0-0 draw, which sees both of them eliminated, Fede, which is, disappointing for both these teams. I think even more disappointing for Libertad because of the way that they were just so close, yet again, they just got denied right in the last few minutes of a game. And it's failure yet again for Garnero and for Guarani, for Pompido's side. It's so close, yet so far for them as well.
Yeah, for Guarani, I think it was a good run. I mean, out of the group stage and to make it this far, yeah, obviously it was probably one of the worst rivals you could get in this stage to go against Botafogo, who just got on that hot streak right before facing Guarani, right? I mean, they're the top of the league in Brazil right now, and they pretty much played with their B team on this second game because they're thinking of the Brasileirão. So they came with a lot of subs to play against Guarani, but they still had a great team, and Guarani just didn't do enough. It wasn't enough there in Brazil, and it wasn't enough here in Asunción. It was close. I think Guarani was just maybe 1-2 plays away from it, and I think that's the good side of it, that Guarani competed in this series, and they get out of the international stage at least with some pedigree for young players, with some experience, some international experience for certain players. I mean, I think that's the best and the most important thing right now for Guarani. Guarani, who has been selling lately. I mean, that's been the mindset for the club lately, and they've been doing a great job. They've been making tons of money in that sense. So I think they have a lot of young players right now in that squad. I want to see what they do with that. If they're going to keep selling, or if they're going to maintain a couple of those players and try to develop a good team to finish up this year, and especially start up the next year with a team that has more experience, because that's been, I believe, the big problem with Guarani this whole 2023. As for Libertad, a big disappointed. I'm so disappointed on this team. I mean, I said it. I mean, I saw this team in semifinals. I saw this team maybe in a possible final, and they had absolutely nothing in front of the goal, and that's the weird part about it. I mean, this team was not able to score at all, and they could not win a single game at home during the whole international adventure. And I think Garnero has to look back at the situation and what's happening, what is the right formula. They need to move forward from this. But you look at the squad, and it's just too big of a squad to leave the Sudamericana in the stage. And you're seeing other teams that are going forward, and they don't even got half of the squad that Libertad does. So I think it is a disappointment. Obviously, they were champions in the Apertura, so that kind of overshadows everything right now. And they are fighting for the Clausura again. I think they're first runner-up, especially after leaving the Sudamericana with Olimpia in Libertadores. With Cerro, we'll see what happens with Cerro in the Clausura. So Libertad has to win the Clausura now to kind of pretty much clear up the year. The Apertura is kind of back there now in Libertad's pants. And they made a couple of mistakes that happened again. I mean, when I saw what happened with Ivan Pires, I had a deja vu. I mean, this happened, 2 years ago with this guy? I mean, and Libertad fans were thinking about that situation. And there's a lot of things that I believe that need to go into consideration moving forward for Libertad. I don't know what's going to happen with certain players. I don't know what's going to happen with Roque at the end of the year. I don't know what's going to happen with Tacuara Cardoso. So there could be a big change in the locker room after this year. But as for their showdown with the Brazilians this year, they could not be a single one, Ralph. And I'm really disappointed on that situation. I was waiting a lot more out of this Libertad, to be honest. I don't know if you're going to take a Ralph or if you want to go Maria, but I'm still not getting my head around what happened with Libertad in the Sudamericana.
Well, the funny thing is I didn't watch the Libertad game, but as soon as I saw everything, I felt I'd watched that game before because, like you said about Ivan Pires, we saw that from a very experienced player, but we saw that kind of action before. We've seen Libertad throw away games from losing positions. We've seen Daniel Garnero lose games from possibly winning positions right back when he was at Olimpia. So you just felt like this story has happened before, and maybe that was part of the frustration for the Libertad players, especially those that have been there a long time, like Tacuara as well. They're just feeling like, what can we do to try and get out of this? We dominate the league. We know we're a very good team, but we always just seem to fall short. And in contrast, I think you mentioned it very well, Fede. Like, that was a huge disappointment given Libertad's squad and given the talent and the fact that they don't have anything to play for. They don't actually need to win the Clausura, because by winning the Apertura, they're in the Libertadores. So they could have gone full out for this competition. Whereby for Guarani, I think it was there for the taking, because the Brazilian teams don't need the Sudamericana as much. The prize money they get in their local league is much bigger than the TV money. So they often, you see this, so they don't come full strength, like you mentioned. So Guarani did have the chances, and I think the Nestor Camacho chance towards the end, like, he connects really well with that shot, just doesn't go in. Santander was doing a good job and finding spaces, and you thought that maybe they could have got it. You mentioned the young players as well. I thought it was nice to see Segovia, who's playing really well with Botafogo, got to go back to his old club. But then we get to see the new Segovia, right? Who's Romeo Benitez, who Guarani are playing a lot on the left wing now, and he's starting to do very well. And he had some nice moments there. So it was disappointing in a way that Guarani go out, but I think they gave a good account of themselves, and they will feel, given their team and what they're trying to build, that they're a team on the up. Whereas you have Libertad now, is this aging side. We don't know what's going to happen. There's a bit of doubt maybe around their financial situation for the first time, because it was very strange. They didn't sign a single player in the winter. Well, it's Paraguayan winter, our summer. So that's a bit of an alarm bell, I think, for people who might be thinking, what's going to happen next with this team? So let's see what happens now. Having said all of that, Libertad are still league leaders. So hey, maybe they go on and do the double. But it was a very disappointing way to go out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, even though how Libertad was, unable to continue in this competition, they're still, way ahead of everyone in the Clausura. So it's definitely very surprising results for them, because I think we all talked about that. We saw them going a little bit further in this competition, and it was kind of a shock when they were eliminated. So at least it gives them a little bit more of a focus to continue in the Clausura and get the double, and continue to make more signings, hopefully, like you guys were saying, because I guess their strategy of not signing and just selling all the players is finally coming down to hurt them, because you were gonna have to replace a lot of the players that you're letting go of, and I think that's something that you can see that now in their way of playing. But for Guarani, I haven't seen much of them. A lot of their I haven't seen a lot of their how do I say it, like the way of them playing. I haven't seen much of an enthusiasm for them to continue in that competition. The way that they were playing, it just wasn't the Guarani that we're all used to seeing. So another disappointment definitely in this competition. But we still have next year, and hopefully, we get to see them again in these competitions, international competitions, because it's definitely important. You want to continue to make a statement in to other competitors, in other countries, not just in Paraguay. So we'll see what's in store for them. Hopefully they make a good run in the clausura.
Yeah, that's indeed the hope. That's indeed the hope for them, and for them to save their grace to hopefully win something this season. This is hopefully do it all over again next year, but get something from the domestic league. So let's talk about the big elephant in the room and talk about what happened in Sajonia last night in the Olimpia Flamengo game. Flamengo were coming into this game taking a 1-0 lead from the Maracanã. Bruno Henrique goal putting them ahead, and honestly, it was something that, for me, it looked like Olimpia played the perfect game. But yes, Bruno Henrique took the lead early on in the 8th minute thanks to a set piece scoring from the header. But ultimately, from there on, Olimpia responded quickly. Ivan Torres, someone that has kind of been another unsung hero for Olimpia, someone that's kind of been the underrated, important key players for them. He goes and scores in the 12th minute. And then come the second half, Flamengo had really gotten, a bit frustrated. São Paulo, their manager, was actually sent off, right there by Wilmar Rolando, the referee. And then it just changed everywhere. 69-minute goal from Richard Ortiz, and then Bruera scoring from the corner kick 10 minutes from time. So, Fede, you were there. You were at the stadium. You saw everything. What can you take away from this? And I'll be the first one to say I was wrong, because I genuinely thought Flamengo, after scoring that goal from Bruno Henrique, is like, no, this is done with. Like, you shouldn't be able to capitalize a game against one of the strongest teams and the reigning champions of South America. But they just continue to surprise, and playing at home, it's a completely different force. There's something special about this team, and it's starting to brew in. But I just want your immediate thoughts from what you saw over there in Asunción, and just where do Olimpia go from here now?
Well, after everything that I saw last night, to be honest, I'm still getting over it. I'm still going it through my head. And I'm going to go with you guys, through it with you guys now in this episode. And, to be honest, after what I saw this week, before Olympia's game, I saw Deportivo Pereira qualifying. I saw Bolívar qualifying. And I said, hey, this Libertadores is bringing some surprises. Why not this happening with Olimpia on Thursday? So I was really hoping that Olimpia was going to give a fight, just like they did in Rio de Janeiro. They showed this during the whole campaign of the Libertadores. They've made huge games, against everybody. So this team has really showed up in the Libertadores. We have not seen this team in the local league at all, in the Apertura, in the Clausura. But in the Libertadores, this has been the team that we've seen this whole year, with one coach, with another one, with a third coach, which is Chiqui Arce now. And Chiqui Arce brought in, I think, not just the winning mentality back, but, those special touches on that 11. Romagna in the defense, Alex Silva's task, what he got out of Zabala. Walter Gonzalez picked as the center forward for these two very important games. And he picked the same team again, just as he did in Rio de Janeiro. He did not change a single player. So he showed his confidence on these guys, and these guys responded. Yes, Flamengo scored right away. Obviously, they were going to score. I said it last week. How are you going to stop this team from not scoring? It was going to be impossible. Bruno Henrique was going to beat Alex Silva a couple of times. You were going to need Romagna to get in there. You were going to need Richard Ortiz to probably go in hard like he did against Bruno Henrique from that free kick, from that yellow card that Richard Ortiz got. Bruno Henrique scored right away. And then you saw Olimpia fight it the whole time. And you saw an Olimpia playing better. And you saw an Olimpia that was taking over the match. And you saw an Olimpia that was deserving it. So I was just clapping at the end of the game. I just lived a magical night, to be honest. And seeing Olimpia do it one more time, just as they've done it so many times along their history in Libertadores, in the international stage. This team is built for this competition. That's just what they say here in Paraguay. And that's why the fans were believing, Roberto. It didn't matter the huge budget difference. It didn't matter that, yeah, it was the last champion. They knew what they were going up against. Flamengo was going to feel comfortable in this situation. But where was Flamengo in the second half? Where was that team that needed to attack a bit more? They barely got a couple of chances right there at the end of the game, but with 3 headers, and what a night. Tito Torres, a player that was criticized a lot this whole season. Richard Ortiz, the captain of the team that had important injuries this year, that's been out of the team a lot. He showed up with a tremendous header to tie it up, and then Facundo Brera coming in from the bench. I mean, it was just magical. It was just like a story, to be honest. I mean, it was just perfect for Olimpia, and Olimpia fans were thinking right after the game that, you know, this was an epic night, and what's next? I mean, Fluminense, bring on anybody. We just beat the champion. Bring on whoever. We're ready for it. That's how Olimpia fans were feeling. Somewhere in shock, Roberto. I was looking around, you know, from my press box, and I could see people in shock. Not just the Brazilians that were really close to me, the Flamengo fans, but Olimpia fans. They couldn't believe what they just saw. Their team blew the last champion out of the Libertadores.
Before, sorry, I just wanted to interrupt. This time 2 years ago, Olimpia faced Flamengo. They scored 4 against them, and overall ended in 9-2 on aggregate. So something clearly changed. Yeah, you still have some of the same players and whatnot, but something clearly changed in the last 2 years. They understood that what happened 2 years ago was not going to happen last night.
Well, I would say firstly, it's a slightly better Olimpia team, but it's definitely not as strong a Flamengo team. I think partly because of Sampaoli. I don't think Sampaoli is getting the best out of this side, and he was getting frustrated. He gets sent off. But what I wanted to say was the atmosphere just looked incredible, and it's a funny story. I had to take my kids to the cinema last night to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I was watching the game on mute. And even though it was on mute, I could like feel the atmosphere because you could see the crowd bouncing around the whole game. Like it looked amazing. Olimpia brought back the mosaic, which is something they did back in 2013. So if people haven't seen it, that's a great image before the game. The fireworks. I mean, everything was building up to this kind of atmosphere. And I had felt that because I've been in Paraguay recently. You could feel that was building up. And even after the first leg, it was only 1 goal. Within those 7 minutes, though, going down 2-0 on aggregate, I don't know what Chiquiase's original game plan was, but they didn't play how I expected them to play after that. They went toe-to-toe. It was intense. It was physical. There was a lot of space. There was a lot of space for Flamengo to potentially work in, but they couldn't use it because Olimpia were there. Possibly they were helped a little bit by Roldan, the Colombian referee, because there was, especially Marco Gomez, he had some big challenges. Kind of, he was bullying the players. When Bruera comes in, he's bullying the 2 center backs, and they really couldn't handle his physicality. But Roldan let that go the whole game. He was happy for the game to have that kind of spark and intensity, and I think that played into Olimpia's hands because. As Fede was saying, like Flamengo just didn't. They looked maybe shell shocked. They didn't look up for it in the second half at all. And it's no surprise that the 3 goals end up coming from headers. Surprise is who gets the headers. Ivan Torres is not a big guy. Richard Ortiz Richard Ortiz can do it now and again, but that header, that was an incredible header. And then the last one, of course, from Bruera is a player he's been criticized a lot. He comes from the lower leagues in Argentina, kind of a revelation, and Nacional did really well to find him, bring him in. But then it seemed that, this step up to a big club, he wasn't ready for. That's why he's found himself on the bench a lot. He's found himself on the bench with different coaches, right? It's not just a decision from Chiquiase. And even for Walter Gonzalez, who hasn't been particularly good himself. So I think there was a lot of question marks about Bruera, but he came on and played incredibly well and really deserved that goal. And it was just one of those nights where the kind of the whole atmosphere, everything seemed to just feed into the home team and bring them over the line. And that's what they're going to need in their next game, because I think if I'm right in thinking their next game, the first leg will be at home against Fluminense. So, and then they'll have to go and see it out in Brazil. So they're going to have to keep that going. Oh, no, it's the other way around. Even better. So then they get the same thing again. They get to build it up for the second leg and see it home.
I guess go to Maria on this one because she, of course, as an Olimpia fan, it's not impossible to really say. And I think Olimpia we've talked about the years and years ago, saying Olimpia have always been in the stages. It's time to believe. It's time to feel like La Cuarta is possible. I think now, especially beating the defending champions, anything's possible. It feels like, yeah, you'll have stronger teams. You'll have your Palmeiras, you have your Bocas and whatnot. But like at this point, if you are an Olimpia fan, it would be almost impossible not to think you can beat anyone. And of course, still got a lot to play. Still got 4 games to play until a final if you do make it. But I like to hear your thoughts personally. It's like, I think it's really that kind of destiny in a way. I'll give you a good stat that a lot of people have put in already. They've already put in their kind of coincidence, but here's one that always seems to always come about. Every time Olimpia wins a Libertadores, they do it this year that they knock out the defending champions. 79 Boca, 1990 Atlético Nacional, 2002 Boca. Now they're doing it again. What can we take from that? What can we take from everything that we saw last night? Is it really time to believe that this team could indeed achieve something?
Yeah, and I think that this time around, this competition is, you know, definitely in the reach for, yeah. They were able to do this amazing result, get this amazing result and beat Flamengo and you know, shock everyone in the world of football. But you know, the work is not done. You gotta continue to put in the effort, and now it's, you know, the time that you gotta put in more work than you did before. And I think I mentioned last podcast, that there is a little bit of luck in this kind of competitions that you gotta go for and get. And I think that's what, you know, Olimpia got. They did play amazing, but you know, there's always that one little strike of luck that you can count on. And with this result, I think it gives a lot of fans hope. Like I said, and just, you know, continue to prove everyone wrong and finally get that Copa that has been, you know, in the works and in the hopes of everyone for the last 20 something years. So let's see that. Let's hope that in the next couple of games that they're able to continue this streak and this mentality, and you know, just continue to work and give all the fans, you know, what they deserve.
Fede, I want to go into you. I'm going to jump. I was going to go into that, and I think more than anything, Fluminense is next. Deja vu from 2013. Who do they face in the quarterfinals? Fluminense. And I think more than anything as well, I think for Chiqui Arson, we'll go into that, and you can say whatever you can say as well. But I think for him, this game was special as well, because it allowed him, and I even had those doubts of saying, is he a manager worthy of the big stage? Is he someone that could win the big games? That's something that's kind of hindered his career. He's had a fantastic career winning trophies domestically and whatnot, but it's always the international stage that's kind of hindered him, and also other managers as well. They seem to always have those issues. And it seems like with someone like Chiqui Arce, who has been the best manager in Paraguay for quite some time, it feels like for him, they're playing for him, something that maybe other teams haven't. So I think now in this next game, which, you know, again, same circumstances that we'll get against Flamengo, play over there in Rio, then the next game in Asunción. So it's almost as if building in that kind of motivation is going to help them in the long term. But of course, job's not finished.
Totally, the job's not finished, but I think it's a milestone for Chiqui Arce. He has never eliminated a Brazilian team before, and he's had several Libertadores run with Olimpia at a certain point, with Cerro Porteño many times, and this is his first time, and he does it with Olimpia after in the same year being in the locker room with Cerro Porteño. So there is that situation, you know, now that, hey, he's going to do it with Olimpia. He couldn't do it with Cerro Porteño. Yeah, fans are talking about that, obviously. But I look at it from the tactical point of view and the choice of players and what he brought into the team. That's why I mentioned a player like Romagna, because he put him in the team. I mean, on his first game as an Olimpia coach, he put Luis Zarate alongside Mateo Gamarra. But after 45 minutes, and because I was at that game, I could see that they did not like what they were seeing from Luis Zarate. So they took him out, and they never brought him back in. And the defense was a problem back then for Olimpia, and he fixed that situation. And then confidence for Walter Gonzalez, like I said, which I believe played an important role yesterday for the team, because all the long balls were for him, and he was putting them down. And same thing with Rueda when he came in, and the subs came in at the right time. He knew when the players were tired. He knew he knew the game plan. He had the script for the game. He knew what Sampaoli was going to do. I do think that Sampaoli being signed off, getting that red card was good news for Olimpia, because I could see his assistant was just not the same thing. The subs were kind of weird. He didn't put in any forwards. He did not look to attack in the game. That was kind of weird from me. But props to Chiqui Arce. I mean, this is something that no other Paraguayan team could do these last couple of weeks. Beat a Brazilian side, and in the way they did it. And I do think home advantage is a thing, Roberto, especially now that there's no away goal difference, right? I mean, so if you come back to Paraguay, if you bring Fluminense now back to this same atmosphere, and if you just lose by a goal, Olimpia fans are gonna think that they can do it again. And that's my mindset right now, that Olimpia, even if they're gonna be down, and they know that they can be down against these very good Brazilian teams in the Libertadores, you're gonna have to go through them. Maybe now it's Fluminense. After Fluminense, it could be Inter. And, you can think about all the possibilities. We got huge teams still in this Libertadores, so it's not going to be easy for Olimpia. But for right now, fans are still celebrating. I think some are still sleeping, even on the streets, Roberto. People went crazy last night.
People did go crazy, and it's not really daft to really not believe. I mean, why wouldn't you? And certainly, I think now the question is, can they continue that high against a team that maybe is not of the same quality of Flamengo, but are very strong? It's a very, very big team. Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot a small little detail that I told you guys off the air. The star is going to come back. The star of this team is about to come back. Derlis Gonzalez is ready. He's going to be ready against Fluminense.
That's a big, huge plus for them if they can get him back in time for this big clash. Obviously, we'll get to that at the latter stages in the end of August. Boy, it's gonna be a crazy next few weeks, because you got the Paraguayan qualifiers for the World Cup. I mean, Paraguay is going to be the central hotbed if all goes well for the next few weeks, especially for some of these Olimpia players who, let's be real. We'll see who gets called up. But I'm sure Guillermo Barcelota was looking at that game last night and thinking, maybe some of these players are worthy enough for this call up. So it's all coming into that mix of everything. But of course, we still have one big game to talk about to close this out. Obviously, everything else is going on with Paraguayans. Obviously, the big thing to mention, of course, is the Premier League starting again this weekend. We got Brighton Hove Albion taking on the new team on the block, Luton Town. We'll be seeing Julio and Ciso in action. And then, of course, on that same day tomorrow, Miguel Miron, in a season that hopefully will be a successful one for them, being into the Champions League. They take on Aston Villa at home as well. So 2 big games to mention and to keep an eye out to see, especially with Miki performing very well in preseason. He's got some goals in there. So hopefully he can continue that form heading into the new season under Eddie Howe. And of course, in Ciso, kind of, he got his new number. He went from the 20 to the number 11. That's a big jump. Might be the young South American to focus on at the minute with all this Caicedo talk and whatnot. And Ciso could be next. So let's see what happens there. But of course, the one game to talk about now to close this out is the game that I think, for a lot of fans, I was seeing a little bit of a joke saying they didn't care what the hell was going to happen today as in next game. The fact that they beat Flamengo, they don't really care if whatever happens, but it's a Superclásico, Olimpia and Cerro Porteño. I don't think a lot of fans will agree with that because I think they want to beat their rivals regardless, but it's a big deal. Obviously, the 6th game of the season so far. Cerro taking on Olimpia in La Nueva Olla, second place team, Cerro Porteño, only 1 point behind Libertad in this stage, whereas Olimpia are way back in, probably out of contention at the moment. So, Ralph, I'll go to you on this one. As much as Olimpia have kind of celebrated all this kind of things, for Cerro, they need to win this game. they need to win this game. And I mean, if you're going to face a team that's just beat the reigning champions, it's going to be a hard task, honestly.
Yeah, it's funny when you say Cerro are 1 point behind Libertad, because you suddenly think, like, at what point did they manage that? But it's true, Libertad drew their last league game. Cerro have just, under Gavilan, been getting results, maybe not spectacularly, but they're there. So suddenly this game takes on importance for them, for their aspirations, because they really do need to try and win the league to get it back into the Copa Libertadores for next season. For Gavilan, it's a lot of pressure, because he's essentially playing for his job here. He wants to, if he does well in this clausura, he will keep his job. If he doesn't, he'll be out. That's kind of the reality of the way things are in Paraguayan football when you're a coach that comes up from the reserve team like he has. It was very similar to Julio Cesar Cáceres when he came in at Olimpia, right? He had come from the lower sides, and then he had to kind of prove his worth. So I think a lot of pressure is heaped on Cerro. Also, the fact they're at home and haven't done very well in La Hoya recently against Olimpia. But the interesting thing was that was when Chiqui Arce was manager. And now, of course, he's on the other side. There's some added intensity, I would say, because from what I understand, maybe behind the scenes between Gavilan and Chiqui Arce, there's a bit of rivalry there. Some of the backroom stuff that came in January of this year were more people more friendly towards Gavilan. Gavilan's done really well with the reserve team. Some of his players didn't get the chance under Chiqui Arce that maybe they should have now. You've started to see, for example, he's playing Tobias Portillo in most of these games. So there's maybe a little bit of extra spice to go on top of what is always a Clásico. And I'm talking a lot from the Cerro side. Well, let's think about Olimpia. I mean, that game last night we just talked about, we're all kind of emotionally spent from it. Imagine just the physical intensity of that game. It was really, there were times when I was watching players like Walter Gonzalez pressing even the goalkeeper, or I was watching Ivan Torres. I mean, Ivan Torres, when he scores that header, he shouldn't be in that position. In the middle, playing like a center forward, but that's how hard they were playing and pressing. So they're going to have to rotate some players. It just wouldn't be possible to go out with a full strength team. So it's going to be an interesting one. I'm still on the fence of how it could go, because, like I say, Olimpia playing without pressure, knowing they've just won this game, maybe that will help them. Knowing they have a good record in La Hoya. La Hoya isn't kind of a, what's the word? It's not like an intimidating place for this group of players, because they've gone there and won a few times now. So it might end up playing into Olimpia's hands, the fact that they don't have too much pressure on them.
Yeah, I think definitely this is one of those tough games again for both teams. Olimpia coming off of that great game against Flamengo. There's probably no sense of pressure there, but I still think that there probably is a little bit of, we need to win this game, because they're currently bottom of the table again, 4 points in the league, and then that's not good. You want to continue to put pressure in this competition, not just in the Copa Libertadores. So yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those games that we're always gonna see that great rivalry. So let's hope that it's gonna be a good game for both teams.
Cerro has been winning, but not by much. They've been having problems. They've been repeating the same team, but they don't have their star available. We don't know what's going to happen with Cecilio Dominguez on this game. He has played only one game so far, and then he's been out 3 games so far, the last 3. So I don't know if he's going to start this game. I don't know if he's 100%, if he's going to be ready for it, if he's going to maybe show up in the second half. But I do think he's a very important player, especially after what happened with Claudio Aquino, guys. You guys did not mention the situation, but it looked ugly in that bench on the last game. Claudio Aquino was called in by the new coach a couple of times. Yeah, he's been a sub in these last couple of games. He does not feel comfortable with that situation. He was one of the stars in this team at a certain point in the season. and he's been in the bench lately. And in the last game, he was called in a couple of times. And the last time he was called in, he just took off his shirt. He did not want to go in the game. And after that situation, they broke up his contract, and he's out of the team. He's out of the club, just like it happened with a couple of players at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of this clausura. So that locker room is still, still shaking. It's still having this problem. And meanwhile, they got to fight this clausura. They got to try to reach up, catch up to this Libertad that stumbled last week. They were able to tie against General Caballero. So it was the opportunity for Cerro to catch up. And Libertad's obviously going to be looking at what happens in the Superclásico. Cerro's going to have the pressure. And I do think Chiqui Arce heads into this game with an advantage. He pretty much knows all the players that Cerro Porteño has. And he even knows Diego Gavilan a lot better than Diego Gavilan probably knows Chiqui Arce. And Chiqui Arce has way more Superclásicos. This is the first time for Diego Gavilan. So he's going to be in an unknown place. I don't know how he's going to handle himself. I don't know what the strategy is going to be from Cerro Porteño. So I'm putting the pressure. I do think Cerro has to win it no matter what, Roberto. Olimpia is going to come with their carnival. Olimpia is going to come thinking about Brazil, thinking about Fluminense. Their head is in Libertadores. I think we're going to see a couple of different players from what we saw against Flamengo from Olimpia's side. We might see a young Luis Cano. Chiqui has been talking a lot about him, about putting him in the team. We might see a couple of new players, Sebastián Quintana. There are certain players that Chiqui Arce is trying to promote ever since he came in. So I do think Olimpia is going to have some certain rotation in this game.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So that puts more pressure on for Cerro, especially if Libertad don't get the result that they need as well against General Caballero. So this is the perfect opportunity for Cerro. As much as Olimpia have been on this high, I don't expect them to have the strongest team possible. For Cerro, it's a case of like playing at home against your bitter rivals. You're still dead in a really tough league race. Like they can't afford to lose. And that's something that hopefully Cerro can understand moving forward, that this is exactly what they need to do to hopefully continue themselves in this race for the clausura. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend, the next couple of weeks. Obviously, again, thank you so much for everyone listening in. 100 episodes. We couldn't have done it without your support. So thank you for everyone for tuning in. As always, for myself, Roberto Rojas, Fede Perez, Maria Britos, and Raul Hama, thank you so much for listening in. See you soon.